Welcome everyone, so Heroscape here today, coming at you with update number 25. This is an exciting update with a queen figure from the Craven Court, and it is pretty sick. So let's jump right into that, and then following that, stick around for some thoughts that I have about some of the HasLab and the way that they're going to set up. Kind of, I guess, the format of things going forward. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I feel like I've come to a pretty good conclusion, and we'll see where we get from there. So stick around. Let's get into the design for today. To step down from her throne ensures the devastation for her rivals. Queen Maladrix the Conqueror is the living manifestation of the Craven Court's utter hatred of their enemies. Her mere presence on the battlefield represents dark omens to her enemies, as the Craven Court's harbinger of doom. Ooh. Queen Maladrix's sheer size allows her to tower over opponents, slicing apart attackers with ease and unleashing a whirlwind, interesting, of fury and death in the center of the Craven Court's battle line. As a member of the royal house, Queen Maladrix the Conqueror is able to spawn a brood around her on the battlefield, initially hiding the scale of her forces, then overwhelming enemies with a horde of skittering carnage while quickly expanding her power across the war host. Very cool. And there she is. That, my friends, is pretty gnarly. That face is... That's... Yeah, this is... man, yeah, look at this thing. It's like a centipede type... not like a... No, centipede. I don't know. That's not really a centipede. I don't know. Scorpion? Yeah, a little bit of a mix of like a scorpion, maybe. Scorpion, spider, crustaceanary, insectoid. Yeah. Okay, so that's just earlier concept art. Oh, wow. Were those wings? Interesting. Early concept art might have had her with wings. Okay, but I don't think she does at all. I'm not seeing any... Right? No wings, right? Yeah, no wings. Interesting. Oh, no, yeah, see, look at that. Interesting. Earlier concept art also had wings. So I guess it's possible. Yeah, and then this one as well. Like, earlier concept art. So, okay, so it looks like earlier concept art had her with wings. I'm not seeing those on what looks like the final art. I don't see any indication of wings on there. So I don't think she's going to have flying. I mean, she could, right? They might just say, well, her wings are inserted into her, below her crustacean back or, her carapace or whatever, or exoskeleton, whichever it is. So, yeah, that's interesting. I think there's a couple powers she's going to have. Obviously, we know she's going to be spawning units, so spawn a brood around her. So there's going to be some sort of spawn ability. That could be two different things. It could be a regeneration, or it could just be army development, right? So it could be kind of like Tolbach Ra, where he takes a wound and then he teleports in units. So like for her, I don't think it's necessarily taking a wound, but she's probably in the battlefield and there's probably some sort of condition that has to be met. Or maybe it's simply that just on her turn, she can teleport in units on the battlefield. So it does say she spawns a brood. That spawn doesn't necessarily indicate respawn though, right? Or rebirth. So it could just be essentially a, put the units on her army card, and then when she's in battle, you can bring them to the battlefield. Additional abilities, it says she's, first off, her sheer size. So she's clearly a huge figure. How big? Probably as big as Wosaga, maybe even as big as some of the dragons. I don't know if she's that big though. I mean, she'd still, even Wosaga towers over, uh, units like that are medium or small, units. So I don't know that she'd be towering over a dragon. So that's my take on that one. The other one is, it says she's slicing apart attackers with ease, unleashing a whirlwind of fury and death. So, I mean, that's pretty specific. So I think we would see a whirlwind attack, and I think we could see some sort of cleave ability. So, honestly, I think those could be the three powers right there. She has cleave, which allows her to quite literally, cut through multiple figures at a time. Whirlwind, which, as indicated, is how she fights, and she's got the arms and the appendages to attack everything around her. And then on top of that, a third ability, which is some sort of spawning of units in the middle of combat. So I think that's a pretty good indication of how we're going to see her design turn out. And man, she is absolutely a harbinger of doom. Very scary. So far of the Craven Court, that's my favorite. The first day there was so many different designs, and some of them were kind of choppy and grotesque, and I didn't really know what to think about them. This seems a little bit more definitive, defined, a little bit more structured. I can relate to it a little bit more. Even yesterday's update was still kind of like, how is this working? What is this really doing? So I'm excited about this particular design. I really, really like queen type figures, lich type figures, or lord figures, central heroes that command an army. I love that aspect, especially when they can get multiple activations or spawn them to the battlefield. I really like armies that can do that. That just is fun for me. And so I think that's really cool, and I really like that. I think that's going to be a fun unit. So now is the theorizing portion, where yesterday I was talking about the commons and, thinking about, well, man, we don't have any commons yet, right? We're only seeing uniques. And I kept thinking about it more. And I had some discussions at the last tournament with some of the guys in Peoria. And we were just shooting the breeze, kind of talking about how are they going to make this work, right? And the other thing I was thinking about is, they continue to tell us they're learning from the problems of the past. We've provided a ton of feedback over the last 12 years. Craig's been involved in the community. All these people that have been on the War Council right now have been in the community for the last 12 years. So they know what the issues were. The distribution was a major, major problem. And so when I was thinking about it, after yesterday's comments about, I don't know if they're going to have commons, you kind of realize it really makes sense that they would restart with the HasLab, they'd restart Heroscape similar to how they started it with Rise of the Valkyrie, in that all uniques, right? Get a base scenario, get a base game started, get people excited, have a bunch of different units, right? Have different factions represented, but not just one full faction. For example, if we were given in, the HasLab, hey, here's, 3 common squads and a hero or 2. Well, you'd have to spend a ton of money if you really want to get a full army, because you're buying, 4 or 5 squads of that common squad or whatever. And then potentially also getting a 4th or 5th, unique hero with that pack or whatever, or that master set, or that HasLab campaign. And so it dawned on me that truly, I think they're focusing on uniques because they really want to say, hey, here's a faction with a unique squad and a couple of heroes. Here's a faction with a unique squad, a couple of heroes. Here's a faction with a unique squad, a couple of heroes. Get excited about all these factions. Get a taste. Similar to Rise of the Valkyrie, we got Grimnak. Totally random. He has no other things with him. He can chomp some cool stuff, but it's like, he kind of sucked in the original Rise of the Valkyrie. I remember never using him as a kid after I got Rise of the Valkyrie, because I was like, he does nothing. Sure, he can catch a Krav and chomp him, but he'll never catch the Krav, and then his 2 attack. Okay, what's that going to do, right? And then you see like Savaris and Elf, you see cool agents, right? You saw really cool, different generals with different themes and styles. And then you also had the obvious, campaigns or storyline that was built around those units. And then you could play out those scenarios. And so I think they're bringing back that aspect of the game where, hey, if we're going to restart this thing, we want to get people exposed to a bunch of different factions with a bunch of different units that are unique, get everyone into buying that one, campaign or that one HasLab pack and getting excited about that, rather than feeling like they have to buy 5 packs of the common squads. So I guess my point is, it makes sense that they wouldn't be presenting us with designs for commons up front, because they're trying to reboot the Heroscape right here and now. So it makes more sense that later on they would represent commons or terrain in a different format, whether that's outside of HasLab or like HasLab kickstarts it, and then maybe later on they send it to retail and they say, okay, we've kickstarted Heroscape, it's back, it's rebooted. Now you can go to your game store and you can pick up 10 packs of terrain, or 5 packs of commons now. Whereas the HasLab is really just get everyone excited, get everyone into the game, get everyone the unique figures and factions, and then let them build out their armies how they want, however much money they want to spend. Now, I don't know the prices. Maybe it'll end up being $150, $200, $250, I don't know, to be all in for a HasLab. But whatever that is, you want to be able to make it affordable enough for the committed people to be like, boom, I'm getting everything. And then the average scaper to be like, sure, I'll drop $150 and kind of get the core set. And at that point, then you've got it into everyone's hands. They can play a game, they can be excited about it, and they can feel like they're, they don't have to expand their universe if they don't want to. For example, when I had Rise of the Valkyrie as a kid, we could play games with just those units. You could legitimately have enough units to pass around for a few different people, 1 or 2 units each, 2 or 3 units each, and you could have a fun game. And we would do that for a while. And then it got to the point where we decided, we want more units, so we'll go out and buy more units. And I think that's going to be the same way here. It's like, it's going to be sufficient for people to buy the sets and buy the pack, the unique packs out of the gate once the HasLab campaign starts. And so I think that's what's going on. And then you're going to have commons come later when it's funded and when it's kind of established itself in the retail market. Then it's like, okay, boom, now let's flood the market with what people are going to spend quite a bit of money on, for those that want to spend money on it, especially people that buy the unique pack, they have fun with it and realize, hey, I do want more. Then they can go to their game store and, like I said, be like, okay, now I can pick up a couple more common packs, rather than having to spend all their money right up front on the HasLab to get all of those packs that they want, right? Again, they're not presenting us with the entire library of designs intentionally, because they've got a 2-year plan. So they've got tons of designs that they want to release, but they can't all do it up front. So the HasLab is really just, getting a core start, right? Getting us invested in those factions and designs right now. And then, they'll build them out as time goes on with the rest of the designs they have prepared. So that's my thought. After thinking about it a little bit more and remembering that I had some conversations with people on this very topic at the Peoria Attorney, we were talking about that. Like, with Rise of Valkyrie, it was great, but the mistake was that people had tons of terrain when they got that master set, and they wanted more because terrain was cool. So then they bought 3 more master sets. Well, now they had 3 extra sets of uniques. Kind of a problem. So I don't anticipate the HasLab to have terrain either. And if they do, they might have a limited amount, enough for a casual gamer to pick up a few, enough to play a game on maybe. But I don't anticipate it being a huge focus on the HasLab, because again, I think they want to get the game kickstarted just enough for people to get excited and back into the game, and then flood the market with all the terrain packs and common packs that you could imagine. So that's kind of how I see it. I see it being a very separate way of dealing with uniques versus commons. I think commons are literally probably just going to go straight to retail. No need to do a backer for that. Just buy it off the shelf. Whereas uniques might be a little bit more, might just be treated a little bit differently. So you start it off with a HasLab, and then maybe, I don't know, down the road, well, maybe they'll just all go to retail. I don't know. Or maybe they'll do another HasLab. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. But anyway, so thanks for sticking around, just talking that out loud. I think the other aspect that people are talking about is historical miniatures. Where are all those? It's a tough road because they've got a couple of them already. They've confirmed that, and they've, the pirates and whatnot. But, a lot of our ideas are like, okay, Genghis Khan, right? Aztecs or Zulu warriors, right? I mean, there's a few people on Discord mentioning that, and those all sound awesome. I would love that. I actually play a game called Age of Empires. Many of you may be familiar. I love it. It's an age-old, 20-year-old game. They have all kinds of different, factions, right, and warriors from from history, right? But inherently, what comes with anything historical is how it's represented, and so you have to walk a fine line. And so I can see, and I think, and Carmine might have confirmed this on Discord. I saw some people talking about it yesterday, but you can see that, especially in our culture today, there's just issues with trying to design around culture. And so you have to deal with, I don't know, potential legal issues. I don't know all the terms or issues that you could run into, but I can see that there's a lot to consider. And so I think they're just being careful and methodical about how they go about historical units. Again, they've confirmed they've already done a couple, and we know that. So they've gotten a few in, right? But in terms of doing a full-fledged historical, faction or widespread, like tons of units that are historically based, I think it's still on their radar, very clearly, because they've already given us units that are historical. But I wouldn't expect it to be as prominent maybe as some of the other, fantasy, sci-fi, horror factions or themes that we're seeing. I would expect them to probably drop a historical unit once in a while. We'll see. I don't know. It's a tough one to call, and I've seen you guys talking about it on Discord. It's just tough. It's hard to say in our current cultural climate. And some of you mentioned, like they said, they don't want to just sell to the U.S. They want to sell to other cultures as well, or across the world. So if you're selling to someone else and their culture is technically part of what we're designing, what are the legal implications, or how are we representing them? It's just a thing. Whether we like it or not, it's just a thing. So something they have to deal with, and something we need to just be okay with, and supporting them, and still just encouraging them to continue to find ways to involve historical units in the best ways that they can. So that's all I have to say about it for today. Again, thanks for sticking around and listening to my jabbering. If you didn't stick around, that's okay. But thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next time.